Well, DA Federal Council Chairperson Helen Zille would understandably be swelling with pride after her latest book, Stay Woke, Go Broke, hit #1 on Amazon before its release. The book reached #1 in 3 different categories, and it's set to be in stores and online on April 26th and retails at about 167 Rand. Last month, Zille said the book, among other things, focused on why America's culture or culture wars will destroy South Africa and what people can do about it. Helen Zille joins me now to speak more about this book. A very good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us this afternoon.
Hi, Pete. It's good to be with you.
Now, just speaking about the reaction that your book has actually garnered just before the launch, would you say that you're happy with how things are going so far? And what are the themes that you are tackling in this book?
Yes, well, I must say I'm very thrilled. As you said, I'm very thrilled that I got to the top of the categories of social theory, also leadership, and then another category of sociology of race relations, constitutions. And it was great to see that I also hit #1 on the hot new releases category. I haven't been called hot for quite a number of years now, about 5 decades, I would think. So now to be hot again is quite cool. I like that. And it was very nice to see such interest in the book before it's even launched. The themes I'm dealing with in this book are the themes that are tearing America apart and tearing apart many countries in the English-speaking world, including South Africa. And I'm saying here it will have particularly disastrous effects, and I explain why, and I also explain what people who want South Africa to succeed and be a successful, inclusive democracy can do about the threat that we face.
And can you speak to us about what particular threats there are in the South African context, that is?
Yes, with pleasure, Peter. The key threat to South Africa is that the ideas, the culture wars that are tearing Americans apart are not only going to tear South Africans apart, but destroy our prospects of building a democracy. Now, we've just heard Cyril Ramaphosa praising Chris Hani as a true non-racialist and a bridge builder and a person who was committed to a united South Africa. The issues tearing America apart are based on the idea that non-racialism is racist, and that to believe that we can work together as one nation with one future overlooks the biological imperative of race, which is a very determining function, whereas the entire struggle was based on the idea that we could overcome and become a post-racial society that would include everybody and give everybody a chance. The new ideas behind the woke movement reject that, and it is very ironic on the 28th commemoration of Chris Hani's tragic death that we are in a place where non-racialism today is described as selling out the struggle, which of course it isn't. And it's those extreme dangers that I unpack in detail in my book.
And why do you think that you should be the one then to, or who is best positioned to advocate against this wokeness?
No, I'm not best positioned. Anybody can do that. We're a free country. I can choose to do it. Anybody else can choose to do it. You know, you can do what you like.
But I mean, you mentioned that being the sort of theme around wokeness actually speaks against non-racialism. My understanding was that it just speaks against people being racist one towards another, but actually still encourages some sort of democracy, some sort of conscious acceptance of different races within the same community.
No, basically, the race differences are seen as absolutely hard and fast. We grew up believing that race was a social construct and it had no scientific basis, and that we needed to break down the idea that people differed on the basis of race in order to create a non-racial society. That idea has been thrown out of the window. Race essentialism has returned, and the notion that race is a fixed category has come back. And the last time we saw that idea was with apartheid, that many of us fought with everything we had. Now, of course, everybody can write whatever books they like. and have whatever books they like published, if they can find a publisher, or publish their own book. And everybody can get into the marketplace of ideas. No one has a monopoly on that, and I am interested in the subject, and I wrote a book on it, and it's doing quite well pre-release.
And just to speak about the pricing as well, the pricing strategy of your book, you seem to want it to be available to everybody and price it quite lower than average, if I may say that. What was the thought process behind that, and would you be able to actually regain the money spent in publishing it?
Yes, that's a very interesting question. I will be able to regain the money that I've spent publishing it if my projections are correct. I've forked out quite a lot of my own money. I didn't work through a conventional publisher because that creates so many additional costs that it does, as you say, push up the price of a book very considerably. And I didn't want that to happen. I wanted it to be accessible to many people. And apparently, and especially at this time, people don't have disposable income. And I just wanted it to be more widely accessible and within reach of people. It's going to retail for about 200 Rand when all the other costs are taken into account, the courier costs, all of those sorts of things. It's very expensive to publish a book, but cutting out as many middle people as I could has actually cut down the retail price a lot.
And just mentioning that this topic of race relations is one that you're interested in, what are the kinds of discussions or what kind of impact do you hope to actually see coming out of people reading and engaging with this book?
Well, I hope we can start a serious debate that South Africa needs to have. It's going to be a controversial book, no doubt. There are going to be many people who dislike what I say, no doubt about that. Nothing wrong with that in a democracy. We need to engage the issues. I'm quite prepared to have people with better arguments and better ideas come and challenge me. I love that. I love dialectic. I love debate. And that's what I'm hoping to achieve. Focusing on an issue that I believe could destroy South Africa, I'd love to be proved wrong. But that's out there on the table, and for precisely that reason.
And just lastly, Tony Leon made the news this week when he called Mmusi Maimane an experiment that actually went wrong. What's your thought on that, and what does that say as well to the race relations in the country currently?
Well, I don't want to comment on a previous leader's analysis of the situation. He's written a book. And of course, no human being is an experiment. No human being is an experiment at all. But for example, if I look at my own career, you could say that it was a big experiment for the DA to try to put me into being the mayor and then electing me the leader of the party at the same time. It had never been done before. So that was a major experiment. That doesn't mean to say I personally am an experiment, but making me the leader in a context where I was also the mayor was a huge risk and a huge experiment for the party. And what I think Tony was saying was taking somebody who had never been in Parliament before, as a very first-time parliamentarian in that complex environment, was a risk, like there was a risk taken with me of being the mayor and the leader at the same time. These are big risks. And doing things for the first time is always a trial run, which I'm sure is what Tony meant. I haven't spoken to him about what he meant. But no human being is an experiment. No human being at all. We're all here for a reason. We all live the best life we can. We all try and contribute in the best way we can. And so in that context, no one is an experiment. But what people do with their lives and what their organizations do on taking risks with certain decisions can be experimental risks that either do work or they don't work. It's got nothing to do with an individual, and it's got far less to do with a whole category of people. You can't generalize about saying one thing went wrong to everybody of a particular race falling under that particular category. Not at all. That is incomprehensible thinking to me. And so that's one of the things I deal with in my book, is people looking to generalize from an individual analysis, decontextualize it, and then manufacture outrage about it. And that is an important issue which we need to look at in South Africa.
Well, we'll leave it there for this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. That was Helen Zille, DA Federal Council Chairperson, just speaking to us about her new book that deals with race relations in America that could spill over into South Africa.